Hi, wonderful people. Welcome once again to the TRF podcast. I didn't hear any.
Hello.
We're not tired of idols, are we? The name in Jesus is more than the name in idols. So don't let idols overweigh you. Yeah. Welcome once again to another episode in this series where we're discussing idols, discussing human worship, celebrity, and putting people on pedestals, which we have kind of seen now that even though they are general overseers, they shouldn't really be on that. According to Busayo, she says that they can be wrong. I was thinking that they are express way from God. They just hear from God and they just give to you. But Busayo has said that they can be wrong. Viewers, she said it. That they can be wrong sometimes. Yeah, that they are humans. So she's confirming what she said.
That's true.
Interesting. Yeah, so starting off on this one, let's just ask ourselves, is there a difference between honoring people and idolizing them? Like honor and is there a way to can we separate both really?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference. So for instance, when you say that, the image that immediately comes into my head is thinking of soldiers that they come back from war and then they honor them for their service, for whatever they might have done. And so I think it can be endearing for that person to honor them for maybe they've sacrificed greatly for what they've done. So I think honoring someone, especially if they deserve it, isn't in itself bad. I think it definitely can become idolatry when to now say, okay, this person's face, will put it on the badge of every soldier who goes into so that their luck or whatever it might have been will be on them, or we have to change the national anthem to include just doing things that it then becomes an act of worship, rather than saying actually it's God that is our ultimate protector. But shifting away from that can then become idolatry.
There was a question I wanted to ask, I think in the first episode. If is it possible to have positive idols? I'm asking that now because you view that from the angle of if they have that photo of that person on their shirt or whatever, like it's idolatrous. And I'm thinking, what if it's motivating? What if it's just there to motivate and say, I look at the face of this person I won, that achieved so much, and I'm here being lazy. I look at the face again, and I'm gingered to say, no, I can't be tired. It boosts my morale, as they say in the military. You get? So is there a way to have a positive idol, really? And can that actually be a motivator rather than act of worship?
I think you can be inspired by people's works, but so you can be inspired by how maybe their skill or their intellect or their wisdom in certain things, but the moment that person takes the place of God in whatever it might be. So to say, okay, sorry, just sticking on with the example I gave of war, to say, this person, if I can just collect their coin or bracelet or their dog tag or something and keep it on my person, that will keep me safe, or that will give me the motivation I need. Whenever I'm down, I'll just look at that dog tag, I'll look at their name, it will remind me of this great person, then it will spur me on to keep going. I think whenever anything starts taking the position of God, whose position never ever shifts, then it becomes idolatry. So in our highest of highs or our lowest of lows, God will remain the same, right? But anything that is not God, there will be times where that thing will falter and we will need it the most, and that thing fails. If that is, it might work, a few times. In fact, the devil might even work to make sure that that thing is working for you, just so you believe in it more. And so what will happen in the day that thing fails? and there's nothing else that you can look up to. God is someone who will never fail. That's what I'll say on that.
I really, I like that. Yeah, I'm just kind of, keen into what Victor said, actually. But basically, now it's my turn to talk. I wasn't thinking I was going to talk. But I think your question, could it be positive? Maybe like, do we have positive idols? Do we have positive devil? Or positive demon? Demons are demon, devil is devil, idol. There's no positive, there's no negative. Idols. So it's exactly like when we shift focus, then that's where the problem comes in. And I think that's the answer to the question, really. So there's nothing like positive idols, positive this, but I think the original question was honoring, to honor someone and to worship someone. Does that make sense? Is that the question, actually? So honoring someone is basically you kind of respect, you acknowledge their achievement or some values or skills that they kind of possess. You respect that, and that is it. You honor the person, you acknowledge and you respect it. But when you worship, it's like something that's kind of above. Like you worship, like you revere, you kind of your totality. Exactly. I think we need to we need to explain or to define what an act of worship is. Your totality, your everything. You pour it out. Like, yes, you are the most. You are all in all. You are everything. You are the most important. You are everything. And I think that's where that, if by defining that, you can see that different. Okay, that very different. So all our importance, everything about us, is unto God because we worship Him. The moment we shift that to someone else, that becomes an idol. So I can honor you, like I like you, I respect you, I admire you, I do everything. But that is that. But I don't worship you.
I was. Now you brought me to where I didn't want to be. Now, if you your last statement now, if I bring that into a marriage, a couple, you honor the husband and honor the wife, for instance. So let's say as a man, you're honoring your wife, but you say you want. Are you suggesting that those things that we grew up saying, oh, my darling, you are the best of the best, you are all those things, is becoming idolatry?
No,
right?
no, it isn't. It isn't. So you're the best of the best among all the women in the world, the best among every other thing, but not above God.
Obviously,
so you are the one. You are the one. You are the only one I see. That's
you're the only woman that exists in the world.
Exactly.
It's okay to say that.
Yeah.
I know you want to agree with me naturally. I mean,
it is. It's not idolatry. But and I said in the first episode as well, like spouses could be idols as well.
Yeah.
So we just need to actually identify. And I think back. Behind the scene, Sister Basayo mentioned, like, all these things, all these idols. Right, they work. They are dependent on a third party to work for it to work. So they rely on something else for it to work. I don't know if that makes sense. So, if you do want to give an example, like
why are you putting down the spot? You can actually just explain to us. I think you know a lot about idols more than the rest of us on this panel. So if you want to just give us the workings, the inner workings of the idol,
innuendo, the nuances, the everything. It's just basic. Like you have the idol. It will not work. It depends on like human factors, the weighing, the economy, the everything. We always have to depend on that. For example, if your job is an idol, it's an idol for you. So if you don't get a salary, then becomes a problem because it depends on the economy. Maybe it's a recession. But God,
if I can bail you out there, sorry. I think if I used to mention Lamborghini as a car that I always wanted to buy on this podcast. Yeah. So if Lamborghini becomes an idol now, and Bro Victor was suggesting that on a snowy day when I'm trying to go at 380 miles per hour, but it's now snowing. I mean that idol is now useless. At that time I can't really move as fast as I want to move. So I get stuck.
Or they might even decide not to produce it again. They might just pack up and produce.
So
it's
I can't get see.
Exactly. So, but with God, it is ultimate. It does not depend on any human being or any factor to operate.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that perspective. I think I quite agree with you. Now let me come back to the lady in the house, still with honoring and worshiping now. I want to put it to you that in your kitchen right now, there are some cutleries, there are some dishes. You get where I'm going. That you don't bring out on every day, even for DRS Mr. Akintunde to eat on. But if Pastor GB were to call phone and say, I'll be visiting the family in the next 2 weeks, those dishes will probably, am I wrong? You're going to go into the inner of the storage and bring out some of those special, do you get?
Yeah, I do.
The special cutlery. Pastor GB, because of the respect and the pedestal you put Pastor GB onto. Does that happen? I want you to tell me that it happens before I continue to build this case.
It does happen. It happens.
does happen.
People bring out the fine china for their guests, for their visitors, for their
Special occasions.
Something
occasions.
special.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we have agreed that if it starts to become special and special, it may be becoming idolatrous. Is it?
Really? We did say focus on God. Anything that takes your focus away from God.
If you can't use the plate or the spoon on every day, on another day, on whatever time is special, it's becoming, for me, something of suspect. Now, let's link it to when the pastor now comes to visit. And that's when you're now setting the table in a very special, and I think women do this a lot. They will set the table in a very special way, much finer than what their husband that's paid the dowry and everything gets on a regular. Are you not thinking with me that you've crossed the line of just honoring the pastor? You're speaking for women now. Whatever you say now, just when you're speaking for the women, you've now crossed into the line into worshiping the pastor, Pastor GB. So
I would say again, I'll throw this back to you. Is it just for the pastor I'm doing this? Do I do this when someone else comes around? For example, maybe I have a guest, or maybe my in-laws come around. Do I do the same? Or is it just for the pastor I'm doing this?
Is there a cabinet that you've labeled
Pastor
GB?
But there's a cabinet that has a special of the most special dishes
for
and
Pastor
cutlery.
GB, or for
you only bring it out.
occasions.
If you can't bring it out for your husband, then any other person you're bringing it out for is more special than your husband.
I don't quite agree. I did not agree with that. I know that. No.
Well, okay.
Let me tell you why. So, I'm a Yoruba girl. In Yoruba culture, when a woman is getting married, when she's going to her husband's house, your parents give you a particular set of plates. Not for your husband.
But for who?
To impress guests, to impress your in-laws, to impress guests.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I'm just saying, some people do this thing that you're saying, where they say, oh, the pastor has to have this special portion of meat, or have to.
Let us get to that. There's a number of meat.
Some people do that. That's not the ideal.
But I think he's just making. It's part of honor, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of honor. But when you then take it to the extreme, I mean, how do we then draw the line between honoring and idolizing pastor? Or am I doing this because I respect you as a man of God? I respect you as an elder. Or am I doing this because I feel like you are the one and only, you are the direct entry to heaven, you are the only person I trust, or the only person I believe I can seek counsel with? So it's drawing that line. Again, I'll go back to why. To the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I bringing out the fine china for the pastor? Why am I giving the pastor gizzard? Or why am I giving the pastor some cultures? Gizzard is reserved for a very revered person.
Gizzard?
Yeah. Because that's the only part of a chicken that is singular, something like that. So why am I doing this? So it goes back to the why.
Why? I'm just hoping that pastors are not getting angry with us now with this part of conversation. We're not spoiling the business for you to be honored in the house of members, but I think it's just worth mentioning that let's not place too much emphasis, because there are also men like us, and there are men like Mr. Akintunde. I mean, if I have to still say it.
We're all in the same God's image.
We're all in the same God's image. So I mean, they are special. He is special. Everyone is special. So, ladies, please don't save those fine china. You said
Fine china.
Well, I'm not very familiar with that.
Yeah,
don't save them for
place.
anyone. Please bring them all out. My wife, if you are watching, bring them all out for everyone. Yeah. So let's move on now to. As we were rounding off the last episode, I wanted us to speak about how our job can be an idol or our manager. When I started working years back, I was told that your manager is your pay slip. Your manager is your meal ticket. Yeah, that's what you say. If you fight your manager, you're likely going to be out of job. I think your line manager may not be the owner of the where we're working, but it just takes your line manager to say, no, I don't want you again, and all of that. Yeah, so back to it now. Bro Ife, Dr. Victor, Sister Busayo, people are you are great servants in the vineyard of the Lord. You have committed, whether it's a program on a Monday or Tuesday or anytime, you are always there. Now, on this particular day, say it's a Sunday morning, you normally don't work on Sundays. And then you are even supposed to lead whatever, praise and worship, or you're even preaching. The sermon has been on you. You've planned, you fasted and prayed. Special day. What happens? You wake up to a text message from your manager to say you've got to be at work on that day, unplanned. You're not on the rota. You're not meant to be at work for any reason, and it's a special day at work, something like that. You have to cover. It's a direct instruction. You got to be at work. And maybe with a veiled threat to say that, you know that if you don't go, you know how this can stand in your way to whether it's promotion or appraisal or even loss of a job. Where I'm going then is you are left with a very hard choice of honoring your manager, honoring your work, or honoring that your pay versus appearing before in the house of God to do what you've planned to do. I'll ask each of us. We are looking at me. Everybody will give an answer quickly. What will you do? Are you going for the job or are you coming to church? Let's start from there. Just one word. No, not a middle. I will not.
You cannot just give one word answer because I'm
going to I'll be at work or I'll be in church. I just want to know where you
because
start.
It's practically impossible to especially in this country. So whatever it is, in fact, the answer is an emphatic no.
If your answer is based on the fact that the country we live in, let me twist it and say if you were not living in this country, if you were living in another country, if you were living even in Nigeria, for instance, what would be your answer?
That's an oppression. All right.
What would be your answer?
If I am in another country where that operates, it will be very difficult for me to say yes or no. But the thing is this. Now, thinking about it now, all right, think it deeply. And I know it might not be applicable to everyone. And I can't understand if you go, but the ideal answer would be a no. Because
you won't turn up at work.
Won't turn up because it wasn't planned.
And whatever consequences, you will face it.
I am Sunday. If I was on the rota prior, that is different.
Different thing.
So if I'm not on the rota, I probably wouldn't even check my phone.
Good. I won't. All right. So you missed it, Dr. Vic. Yeah. What would you do?
I would assess that person's capability of having an actual effect on my employability status.
Good. That's wisdom now.
Well, that is just the human side talking. But going off the back of
God. I just wanted a yes or a no first, then we can then build on it.
As of now, absolutely no.
You won't turn up at work?
No.
You're not living in the UK, you're living somewhere else.
It is unplanned. You need to go and find somebody else to cover for this position. You have no right asking me to do a job that is outside of my contract. If I signed up for this, to say that
anytime you need me,
I will be there. Fine.
That's fine.
Signed on the paper, but I haven't signed that. So absolutely no.
Okay.
But again, there's lots of nuance to this. Are you paying me more? Are you offering extra? No, but serious. In all seriousness, it'll be a no.
But now I'll make it a bit difficult for you because you're actually a medical doctor, a lifesaver by training. So if the call is about saving an urgent, if you've got a skill, probably needs a surgical something that needs to be done ASAP. And then you are not on the rota, you've just been called. Assuming the person to be saved is even the leader of the country, for instance, somebody of importance. You already know that if I do what I want to do in my mind, might be the end of my career here now. What will be your answer? straight away?
Thank God that
Yeah.
there are people that
Oh,
there are people
God.
who've passed through situations like this before, and there are fail-safes that have been put in place to make sure
Everybody's speaking good
situations like
English
that,
now. Nobody can
never
give me an
happen.
answer.
right, where it is. So, question is, if there's maybe someone needed a certain surgery or whatever it might be, am I the only person in the world who can save this person?
You are the nearest, the
perform-
fastest, the best option
But
right
am
now.
I the only? If I am not the only, the answer is no, because you will
How
have
do
to.
you know
You will
if
have
you are
to
the
find.
only or not?
Usually you won't
You just
be
get the
unless
core.
unless it's some niche area or specific.
If it is,
brain
yeah, it's
surgery
a
or something.
specialized area.
If it is so that I am the only person and this is potentially saving someone's life, I would.
The dignitary.
If it was if that was the situation, I would say yes. Right? Why? I don't see work totally as something that will remove me of my act of service towards God. Okay, I see my job personally as an act of service to God. God is a God of order who brings
I made it too
order.
easy for you in the end now.
Who brings
Because
order to a world of disorder, right? So
I give
if
you-
me going to do my job is bringing order, which is someone whose body has failed them in some way, and there's something I can do to correct that for them, then yes, I will do that, and God will help me to save this person. Okay. If, however, I know that there are things put in place to the situation where if I'm not available, there's someone else who can do that,
and you say no.
then it's a no.
I was thinking I gave you too much wiggle room in the sense of saying that, okay, I'm not going to go because of the threat. I will overlook the threat. I will just say because I want to go and save a life. But you've just cornered yourself again that, okay, somebody else is there. You will still not go. So fine, you have 2-0 now. So Sister Busayo.
Well, I would say I have been in that position before.
Lovely.
I've had a similar situation. I did say no, and yes, it did cost me.
It cost you.
Yes.
So tomorrow, would you say no again?
I would gladly say no.
Wow.
I would.
Wow. That wasn't what I was expecting.
I know.
So in the face of because you said it's cost you already now, I really can't do much more than that. I'm just thinking, so Bro Ife and Dr. Vic, if you said no and it's and the worst that can happen has now happened, and then you are now in the church, and then probably you're now needing people to help you or something, and then the conversations gets there, and then you are now telling them, oh, they asked me to come, and I just said no way. I'm not contracted for a Sunday. I cut off their bluff, and that's it. I have no job now. I'm thinking how the brethren will look at you, whether you've got wisdom in you, or they will understand with you that you've done the right thing. Anyway, what we're trying to achieve first is if our bosses can be idols, if you don't want to offend them, if you're taking them to such a level that you know that without them, I can't get this money and I can't pay these bills. I can be thrown out of the house. I can have my heating taken off. I can be in the cold. So considering the possible consequences of what can happen if out of job, people tend to want to respect their bosses, just make the bosses happy. Even back in Nigeria, people do beyond the work in the office. People drive them, they save them at weekends, totally out of job, for instance, out of work hours, just to make them happy, to keep the employment going so the money can keep coming in. Is that a reality for us? And then is it okay? Is that wisdom, or is that just idolatry outright?
Do you know one thing? Our job could be idols to us as well, because we know where we work, in this country. You want to pay bills, you want to send money back to Nigeria, you want to do this, you want to do that. So if we lay emphasis and importance to that job and forget our God, then it becomes an idol. And we shift focus away from God, who is the source of everything, even that job that we have. And that's that question you asked is a very good question, because what if what we actually rely on is taken away from us. I was talking earlier on, I said, all these things, if they cease to exist and we are only just left, what do we do? I think your question is just a reflection of how ephemeral all these things are, and they will not last long. Only God will last long, even beyond human existence. So the job will come and we go. Families will come and they will go. They are important, yes. They are valuable, yes. We like them, yes. We want to keep everything. We want to keep everything working, yes. But where is the place of God in all this? And I will not be able to answer your question yes or no directly, but I will say, where is the place of God in that particular situation? Is his place being displaced by that situation? Yes or no? And that's the question I need to ask myself. It might be that it's not being displaced and I still have to go to work. When they call me, that is fine. But if his place is being displaced, then I will say no. So it is to individual to answer that question.
I find that really deep. I really agree 100% with you. That was this
For the first time.
Yeah.
He hardly agrees.
That was this time when I was much younger. We used to have a joke about a certain brother. I think was it a drama series, a plate, I can't remember. Somebody who had prayed and fasted for a job for a very, very long time, didn't get one. After a while, door got opened, got a job, and they stopped seeing the person in church. Prior to then, the person was already almost living in church. And then when they've checked on the person, they said, it's a job that God provided for me that has now made me disappear from church because I really need to do that work. Clearly, that job has now taken away the personal attention from God and has really become an idol. Yeah, but it's just, I'm hoping that we're not just speaking, we're not speaking because that's the right thing to say, right? Because in the face of it, really, in the face of when everyone is faced with that decision, with that dilemma, it's a hard call.
It is.
It's a tough one.
Tough.
You would then remind yourself, God, I know you are here, but this is gas and electric staring at me.
Yeah.
This is house rent. This is this and this is that. And then you are expected to also have wisdom. I know from my experience, I may be wrong. When people don't have an answer for you, when they can't say anything yes or no, they just say wisdom is profitable to direct. That's where people just hide and say, use your brain, use your wisdom. God has given us wisdom. So our jobs can be our idol, but we have to learn to manage it, to let the balance be tidy. Let's not lose God in it, even if the job is the best paying forever. Right, we should just keep God in it. That's what Brother said.
Yeah, you give it back to God.
You give it back to God.
Yes,
that makes sense. I'm agreeing with you again. Hannah got Samuel, give him back to God. Even ordinarily, she shouldn't be doing that. She had waited years to get him, and then she still was able to give him back to God.
It doesn't matter how big your job is. It is also fickle in the end. In a split of a second, you can lose it all. And what will remain if you were ever in that situation? Some people's entire sanity is based on them having a certain thing, whether it be their position in their job or they've placed just utmost value of their well-being on that thing, and then that thing falters like this. And then they get thrown into depression. They lose themselves. They lose themselves. They lose their sanity. So when there's something that you have so much of your values of your value system placed on that thing, that is an idol that you cannot. Or if that thing was ever to falter, then you lose yourself.
And I think it's very, very relatable. And I'm just reflecting on my own self. Think about my job, about the things that I'm doing. I'm just thinking, is it taking the place of God? I know I said earlier on, give it back to God, and I'm just checking myself, and it's so we sat here talking.
Just keep checking yourself. I also check myself.
Sorry.
Also,
let me just say, so we are not sitting here to judge anyone. We also reflecting as well, and we also acknowledge the fact that it might be difficult. But I think conscious efforts to actually always Giving it back to God.
Give it back to God, because once again, is a source, is the one that's giving you the power to be able to do the job itself. So that's where we draw the curtain on this episode. Thank you very much. You guys have left me a little emotional, because I'm now checking myself more than Boniface like checking himself. But then, thank you, Sister Busayo. Thank you, Dr. Vic. Thank you, Brother Ife. Benga Ogule, your host, signing out. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We appreciate you joining us today. We hope you have learned something and have been blessed. Don't forget to visit us if you are in the Birmingham area in the UK at 5 Matching Road, Eddington, B236DR. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and on YouTube. Search Foursquare Gospel Church Birmingham on your search engine and you will find us. If you are not around us, please find a Bible-believing church and connect with God. Remember, we would love to hear from you. Send us a DM on our Instagram page at trf.podcast. Have a wonderful rest of the week. God bless you.